Well, crypto is flexing its muscles back and it's hitting back, and this is kind of cool.
It is time for the weekly rant, where me and Will will talk about the latest news, the latest price action, and whatever the hell else we want to in the crypto space. Today, well, it is a big day in crypto in general, especially for the XRP army with a big SEC ruling on Ripple as security. Here to talk about it with me is Will. How are you, mate?
Hey Simon, glad to be here. Really amazing week today with groundbreaking news. Ripple has been in court for years in terms of violating SEC securities rules, and the ruling came out quite literally a couple of hours ago, where a judge declared that Ripple did not violate securities. This is absolutely mind blowing. It's crazy. Ripple is one of many projects that the SEC has queued up and has processed in terms of securities. Every other project in history has lost, and this is really different, and it has everybody up in arms and excited, depending on which side of this case that you stand. So, congrats to Ripple people. Really happy for them. What do you think, Simon?
Yeah, well, it is huge news, and as you said, this case has been going on for years. And I guess the other big recent, news from cases in general is Coinbase and Binance being sued for very kind of similar things, except they've been selling
Mm.
securities. So one of those things that has been named as a security is now technically not a security. So that's had flow-on effects, I feel, for all the other named securities out there, your Solanas, your Matics. And what's happened? Well, the price has rocketed off this. A lot of people
Mm.
thought that this case was going to vote favorably for XRP, and a lot of people thought that this was priced in. Clearly not. I mean, Ripple's gone up 70 odd percent in a day. So, no, we hadn't quite priced this in. But I guess the thing that's interesting for me about this is that this court ruling has not changed the utility or the value proposition of XRP in any way, shape, or form. Because just because it's named a security doesn't mean it's illegal, doesn't mean people can't buy it or sell it or invest in it. It just means two things. It means one, the main thing I guess is probably for the person who issues it, they've got a lot more hurdles to go through to issue it. And if they issued it without going through those hurdles, technically they should get fined or some
Mm.
kind of reprimand. And the other thing is that to sell it, to allow people to buy and sell it, is a lot more of a vigorous process. You've got to go through a whole bunch of regulations in order to be approved to sell securities, which is what Coinbase and Binance technically don't have. And that's the whole big cases going on. But XRP, what it does, what its value proposition hasn't changed. It's jumped 70%, but it's jumped 70% probably because it now means liquidity can come back into the space for it, because now
Mm.
Coinbase can go and list it again on exchange. A lot more places can list it without having to be a SEC approved brokerage. So that's
Mm.
liquidity comes back into the market. More people can buy and sell it. But it's exciting for the space. It means that the SEC saying everything is a security but Bitcoin, well, according to the rule of law now, they may
Well,
be wrong.
Ripple isn't a security, and this to me feels like it's going to be ammunition for every other project out there, every project that's in the middle of a court case, like you just mentioned, Coinbase and Binance as well. Well, now you can say, well, these are the tokens that are really similar to Ripple, and I think what's really cool is that any new project that's coming out and is really attempted to go out into the US, if they do follow the procedures that Ripple did, the way they ran the ICO or whatever, I'm no lawyer, but it sounds like they have got a better chance now. It's almost like, well, crypto is flexing its muscles back and it's hitting back, and this is kind of cool. But like you said, uh, well, what is Ripple's use case? Does it mean it's going to be what is Ripple's use case? Is it the what is Ripple's use case? It's a currency on.
It's supposed to be a international bank to bank transfer system,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
replacing the what is it, the SWIFT system that's owned by the US. So allowing banks to transfer value between each other,
Mm,
which could be done
which
by
means
any blockchain. It could be done on Ethereum per se as well, which is one of the
mm,
arguments against Ripple as being a good use case, is that stable coins on a layer two of Ethereum could do a very good job of it, as could Ripple.
mhm.
So that's its kind of use case,
And
from my
Ripple's not
opinion.
even a yeah, and Ripple's not even a stable coin. I think when Ripple came out, it might have been, I suppose, an interesting, shall we call it an interesting marketing gimmick, let's say. But today, there's a lot of cryptocurrencies out there. Some are even faster, they have faster confirmation times than Ripple, especially if you're on a layer 2 or layer 3. So, yeah, good job on Ripple in hitting back on the SEC, but I think it does need to find itself a use case uh, beyond what they used to say banking. A lot of banks did experiment with it, but I don't think any ended up adopting it.
Yeah. Look, we could be attacked by the Ripple army here for not knowing enough about Ripple itself, and that's fine. Throw that in the comments, guys. Let us hear about that because
Mhm.
we're not Ripple experts by any way, shape, or form. I just am not an investor in Ripple because I don't see the value proposition in it. But what I do
Mhm.
see is first precedence court case against a security, crypto security. It's not actually not the
Huge.
first case by any means, but it's a big case, and it's players who had a lot of money to fight back. And so that means
Mm,
Coinbase, Binance, they are going to come back fighting hard. They're going to get the right lawyers, and they've got a higher chance of
mm.
winning now. So it means the little guys can let some of these bigger players, I guess, take some of the punches for everyone else and go and get these rulings in favor of the crypto industry. But as I said,
I,
it
I, I,
doesn't matter from an investing perspective if it's a security or not. You can still buy these things at the end of the day. It
yeah.
doesn't actually matter for an investor.
Mm. Uh, I want to say it's almost looking like ICOs are back in the menu.
I don't know if that's the case. I think you might find that ICOs are dead, and they will
Mm,
definitely come under fire. It's not the same as that. It's not the same as just issuing a token. But
but,
as I said, it's good
but
news for the space, and the pricing has definitely responded. And I mean, just look at the prices that have rocketed.
mm,
It's moved the whole market. It really has moved the whole market. Bitcoin and Ethereum have moved up on this news. It's
mm.
bullish. We're in a
I,
bull market.
I,
Let's
I
face it.
wish I wish I wish I was holding some Ripple right now, at least for the next short term, if not medium term.
So
Even though,
that's
like,
where I disagree. I disagree with you
yeah,
there. I
yeah,
say like
yeah.
it doesn't meet my investment thesis. And yes, it's had a huge 70% rise. And would I love to capture that? Sure, but it doesn't meet my long term investment thesis. So I wouldn't have bought it, wouldn't have held
It,
it. But I'm happy for people who have made money from this.
it doesn't meet my thesis either. It's
All
just
right.
all this.
All right, that's enough about Ripple. We probably will end up touching on it when we talk about price action again later. But Starbucks NFTs, mate, can you tell me about what they're doing?
Well, this is pretty big. Starbucks is big, making a foray into NFTs, and I believe this is the third drop. And how the NFTs work is you can either buy them or get them through some sort of loyalty programs. And the surprising thing is that this is some huge coffee making corporate, but the NFTs have actually sold pretty well. And with this drop, they are partnering with the Aku collection, and it's curated by MLB, Major League Baseball sports player Micah Johnson. And what we're seeing here is these organizations starting to smell the money in crypto and realizing, hey, there's these young kids out there. They've got these all sorts of little wallets and they're interested in NFTs. Let's get into it. The whole concept of, I think, having a card and points is so, I think, 2000s, the year 2000. Well, this is 2023, and Starbucks is leading the way with NFT collections. And out in the next couple of days, if you get a chance, make sure you check it out. What do you think about that, Simon?
Yeah, I think this is again what we always talk about. We want NFTs to have real world use cases, and they don't have to be investments. This is definitely the case here: is
Hmm.
that they are utilizing this technology for the benefit of their customers, and I guess for benefit of them to a degree as well, because it gives them a little bit more direct access to their customers, rather than like a little loyalty card, which they don't know who's got it, they don't know
Hmm.
where it transfers to. But when they have an NFT on your wallet, they then have a direct connection with their customer. So, big name
Hmm.
brand moving into the space, utilizing the technology for people who don't even know they're using the technology. It's exactly what we want to see. It makes blockchains
Hmm.
more valuable in the future.
Mm. Oh yeah, and I'm just waiting to see more and more companies join in soon. Starbucks will be a case study in business schools probably. Like, one of the ways you want to get your younger audience is stop using points because the boomers are disappearing slowly, and start dishing out NFTs. So all credit to what credit is due. I'm looking forward to seeing how this NFT collection is going to be like. I don't think I'm going to own one, but at some point I think I need to start paying attention to these kinds of corporate based NFTs. And I think what's going to happen in the future is they might start to collaborate more with existing NFTs that are doing really well. Maybe things like the board apes. I do know that some games are already looking into incorporating board apes. And I think we're seeing a case where some of these NFTs have started out as a meme coin or a meme token, and then they're actually going out and finding use cases because they've actually become popular. So we might actually start seeing popular NFTs getting into games, comics, all that kind of things, and uh, even coffee, I guess.
Yeah, well, I see where I see this going is more that NFTs, yeah, they're digital assets that you can have ownership of, but you don't buy them as an investment per se. You buy them
Mm,
for nostalgic value, for a want of
mm,
connection with the community and things like that. And
yeah.
you think about things like the old school trading cards or the old school Pokemon cards. People didn't buy them as an investment. They bought them to be part of that game, to be part of the community, to be part of that sport. In the long
Mhm,
run, there ended up being an element of an investment case to it. But that's for a very small niche market, for only people who are really in the space a
mm,
lot. But that becomes a side effect of people wanting to have ownership of these
mm,
digital assets. That is where I see this. So, these Starbucks NFTs, maybe in 10 years' time, if you've got some of these originals, they may have some element of value. Maybe they're only valuable if you've got the whole collection kind of thing. So maybe people will start doing
mm.
that and there becomes a secondary market of that. But the initial use case is I want this because I want that connection, not because I want to
It's
make
it,
money.
it's got to be fun. Otherwise, it doesn't last. Yeah, it started out as games, collect card collectibles with cars, and then they had the few rare cars that were amazing, and now they're super valuable. Comic books as well. It's people collect them because they're fun, not because they're pieces of paper with pictures on them.
All
I
right,
have
and
to
let's
agree with you there.
absolutely. And moving on to our next news item, which is Alex Mashinsky of Celcius Network, the founder of Celcius Network. He has been arrested and charged under criminal charges of fraud, which is, he's probably the
Ooh,
second biggest bad boy maybe of 2022, or maybe the third, depending on who you're talking about there. Maybe it was Do Kwon. He's
mm,
definitely Sam Bankman-Fried was the number one, but he's
yeah,
up there. He's in the top three. Let's put it that way. But what this means is not a lot, I don't think, other than the fact that at least people are chasing these uh, individuals who are out
mm,
there spruiking. Well, spruiking might not be the word, but creating companies that
mm,
then take value from the people who are participating. I think that's a good sign that, hey, guess what? You can't get away with just stealing money in crypto space.
mm.
What are your thoughts?
100%. And I think it's nice that they're going after these people. And this is the one kind of regulation that I think is amazing. And it does go into protecting the consumers because, well, what's happening is that there's probably all of these projects that are looking and saying, this is what happened to this person. And there's lawyers as well, obviously, who follow this. And all of these projects have lawyers who advise them. And in this case, any projects that are coming out there that are thinking of doing something similar will probably start to get feedback from the environment in that, well, this is a risky move. We really don't want to, I suppose, hurt our users and also hurt the image of the blockchain space. Uh, I guess I feel sorry for anybody who's being arrested, but at the same time, really, I feel more sorry for the people they ended up screwing over. If it was an unintentional breakdown of a smart contract, well, that kind of sucks. But then if it was just like gross mismanagement, then yeah, they should be arrested. And we in this case, we do want to see more regulation in the space of this nature, and I guess it's good. And looks like he might face potentially decades in prison. That's a scary thing for anybody thinking to do something similar.
Exactly. It's removing the element of this being the Wild West when no, you can't
Mm,
get away with it. And yes, it was gross mismanagement. I think it's probably the main thing that he did, or the company itself did. And I thought it was quite
mm.
funny as well. They said the Celsius Network company itself was fined $4.7 billion. That's billion
Oh
with a
my
B.
goodness.
So that's a huge fine for a company. But it's probably just
Mm,
lipstick there because the company is already bankrupt. It has no money and it can't pay out its current customer base. So they've got to pay their
mm,
customers first with money that they don't have to pay them with, and then there's another fine coming off the back of
yeah,
it. So they won't get any money
yeah,
from them because there is no money to have because they can't even give back their customers all their money. But I guess what it is showing, hey, we will come after your companies and we will fine your companies. And so if the company is
mm,
still, financially secure, they will lose a lot of money. So wild west
yeah.
elements of the space, hopefully being told, hey, you can't get away with this.
I think what's kind of cool with these guys facing prosecution is that it also reminds us that the point in blockchain isn't to have tokens that are managed by centralized entities that you have to trust. The whole point in the blockchain is that it's trustless and it's managed by smart contracts. There's no way you could arrest Ethereum or stop it from working. But at the same time, you can actually look into the contract and you can figure out what the risks are and essentially decide for yourself. You don't have to trust some guy, some Bankman Fried or anybody else. They are fulfilling a need for the market, but I think it also signaled that we do need some sort of smart contracts or a group of smart contracts that have been composed together that fulfill whatever Celsius was offering. And hopefully we can see
DeFi,
more of that in the future.
DeFi,
Yeah,
mate. Hey, DeFi. That's where we've got
yeah,
to go.
yeah, yeah.
Let's move on to our last thing, which is price action, which has been a lot. Basically, in the
Oof.
last 24 hours, obviously off the Ripple case, Ripple up 7%, Solana's up like 40%, Matic is up about 30%. All those major coins that were listed as securities by the SEC, Cardano, I haven't checked Cardano, it must be up a lot as well. Cardano, yeah, up 30%. So all these things are absolutely ripping from arguably the Ripple news. The other big numbers, I guess, is Bitcoin above 31.5K, Ethereum above 2,000 US dollars. Will, are we actually in a bear market?
A lot of people keep saying the word bear. and I'm not sure if we're in a bear because I'm looking at the chart right now and it looks like we went past the last high, and it looks to me like we're just hitting higher highs. At least if we go back a couple of months, at least at the beginning of this year, higher highs since January. It looks to be like we're in a boom. And what's more exciting is that August is traditionally a bullish month. Doesn't matter whether you're in a bull or a bear, August is traditionally bullish. So this might be we might see some pretty exciting price action this coming month. And it's a good time to, I suppose, either offload a little bit or just enjoy looking at the prices going up.
Yeah, well, I think what we're seeing is bad news not really disrupting the market, good news really pushing up the market. So that's a real sign of strength. We're at the
Mm,
point now where we don't have new money, or we don't have huge amounts of new money come in. We're not in a
mm,
euphoric blowing top. Like we're talking still years of this cycle still to continue. But what we're seeing is there's people who are in this space now who have bought and had positions. They're not selling. So
mm,
if people here aren't selling, obviously prices have to go up because there's no one in the
mm,
space willing to sell yet. They're sitting there going, we're at the start. People are seeing we're at the start and they're not going to sell just yet. There's always going to be
mm,
traders in the space. There's always going to be price fluctuations. But
mm,
the bigger holders in the space now, they're not selling yet. They know that the bleeding is over. And so I just feel that we are sitting on the precipice of just more upward price movements. Yes, there's going to be down. There's going to be down. It's still a volatile market. There's just
mm,
it just seems so impossible to think that we would be putting in newer lows. There's just
mm,
nothing could be as big as 2022 and all those bankruptcies and FTX. It's just so hard to be bearish. I feel right now.
mm.
SEC ruling on it, Ripple. Come on, there's just so much good news
It's
in the
huge.
space. Macro events in general, if you follow that, it's definitely starting to show signs of turning around. Interest rate rises around the world, starting to get to the end of that point. I know a lot of people are feeling a lot of pain with inflation and the cost of living and all those things kind of really rocking it up, and everyone's feeling in a lot of pain. The markets are
Mm,
forward looking, and I think the markets are starting to see that with the end of that kind of rate rise,
yeah.
inflation rises, we're at the end of that pain point, and it's going to start getting easier soon. And that to me is what the market's going to start pricing in.
And I think you mentioned feeling the pain, and it's something that we tend to sort of forget, I feel, in that when you're in a bear, everything is super depressing, and some people have lost a lot of money if they were lucky enough and they had a good system. They got off the market, but regardless, the market gets quiet, the news isn't as exciting anymore. It's usually just bad news all the way down. And then after a while, the market starts to sort of consolidate at the bottom. But then it's almost as if the emotion that replaces the sort of the, let's call it the darkness, the depression, is almost just I don't care anymore about Bitcoin. I lost a lot of money last year, so I don't care anymore. And there's a lot of sort of like indifference. There's all of these things that are happening, but projects have been continuing to build and all of this, but it's indifferent. There's this new amazing protocol that's launched, and the market is like indifferent. And at some point, the emotion changes from indifference to exuberance, and then it gets to a point where it's at a peak and it's too much, where everybody thinks that we've reached the golden bull that will go up forever. But as usual, that doesn't happen. It goes down, and it's nice to be aware of these emotional states, because I think even for seasonal investors, they are affected by them. But then they can kind of tell these are the movements of the markets, these are the movements of the emotions as well, and they're able to say this is where I am, and they're able to be more, I suppose, step back a little bit more. And I guess this is where we are. We're at that point of indifference, and we're starting to see that sort of ramping up of emotions, where we're getting to a place where it's eventually it's just going to be wild out there. Something to look forward to, I guess.
Yeah, and to put it from my perspective of my own personal emotional experience of late, is that definitely 2022 was a very fearful state. Like that was a very, I guess depressing would be part of the words you use towards it. But I was feeling very fearful.
Mm,
The market was really crashing. My net worth crashed a lot. I didn't sell enough, as
mm,
everyone would say they never sell enough, don't they?
mm,
It was a very dark time, and I could feel it. I was feeling pretty down, but I guess I'm in the space a bit more than maybe a lot of our listeners are. So I started feeling a lot better in like probably February. I really started to say no.
mm,
There's light at the end of the tunnel. I can see this. I've got the conviction in this space, and I know it's going to come back.
mm,
And maybe the rest of the market and retail are starting to come to that point as well. We're getting positive news, things coming out. I think we're just seeing
mm,
the momentum rolling here. I think we're starting to see people interested in the space again. I think we're seeing positive developments. BlackRock coming in with their spot ETF bid, that obviously helped boost the markets and gave it legitimacy again. SEC rulings going in favor of cryptocurrency groups. Now that's just all this
it's
positive news.
huge.
Euphoric feeling is good. I'm looking at price action and seeing how much things are going up. You can't help but feel elation at that. So keep your
Mm.
emotions in check. But
Oh yeah,
really exciting.
yeah, yeah. Good times.
All
I
right, mate.
think
Well,
the exciting times are back. Yeah.
I think, mate, let's leave it there. I think we've covered that well enough. So anyone who's made it this far, please give us a like, give us a comment, give us a subscribe, do all those things that help us get our voice out there. And thanks for tuning in.
Thanks, Simon. See you next time. Nice. Oh,
That was cool.
yeah, that's pretty cool.